The following videos contain strong language, dark themes, and violent imagery that may disturb some viewers. Product is home to the strangest and most uncomfortable videos I've seen in years. Bizarre animations that would have better fit YouTube 15 years ago when series like Salad Fingers or Don't Hug Me I'm Scared dominated the site. They're the type of video that make you ask, who would create something like this? I'm Curmudgeon, and I'd like you to join me on a trip through the world of product. A world of uncanny visuals, extreme violence, dark humor, and most importantly, cockroaches. So many cockroaches. The channel features 8 public videos, 4 character-driven horror short films, and 4 so-called fever dreams, which blur the line between real-world horror and surreal nightmare fuel. This video is the first of 2 parts, in which I'll be covering the entirety of Product's channel. I'll walk you through each film, pointing out hidden details and deeper meanings as we go, before exploring the connections between every film in the second part of the video. So, let's get started with one of the weirdest, titled Bathwater for Sale. The world of Product may be full of strange horrors, but the real world is chock full of plenty of horrors of its own. That's where today's sponsor, Aura, comes in. Recently, at the end of 2024, Bank of America announced they'd had a data breach, leaking their customers' names, addresses, social security numbers, and financial account information. But just because it was announced at the end of 2024 doesn't mean it just happened. On average, it takes 277 days for companies to alert you to a data breach. That's 9 months. By then, the damage has already been done and your private information is already out there for anyone to use. Goes to show you that you shouldn't just trust businesses to handle your data well, not when Aura can help. Over a year ago, before Aura ever contacted me about sponsorships, I started paying for the service myself. I was shocked to see that with just my name, you could find my address, my phone number, and even medical stuff, plus information on all my family members. Aura specializes in finding your data across the internet, getting it removed, and keeping you updated on how your personal information is being handled. In the worst case scenario, Aura offers up to $5 million in identity theft insurance because at the end of the day, Aura is all about reducing the risks you face online. Aura offers way too many features for me to cover them all here, but you can try it yourself for 14 days at aura.com/curmudgeon to make sure that you're only online where you want to be. Once again, that's aura.com/curmudgeon for a 14-day free trial. Thanks so much to Aura for sponsoring this video. And now let's jump into the most upsetting video I have seen in years. Bathwater for Sale is the first of Product's fever dreams. It opens with a shot of 2 children, a boy and a girl playing together in a bedroom. The girl is named Celescus, but the boy doesn't really have a name. He is bald though, so let's just call him Bald Boy. Bald Boy appears to be showing off his collection of rubber ducks, but Celescus interrupts playtime to drop a few harsh realities on him.
You're gonna be ugly when you grow up. You're already ugly, and you're bald.
At that, Bald Boy's mother calls him downstairs since his friend has arrived, and it's Celescus? I thought she was upstairs already, but maybe Bald Boy was just imagining how the playdate might go. But then, why did he assume that she would be so mean to him? The mom says she's leaving the kids alone with Dad and Grandma for a couple of weeks, but she refuses to tell Bald Boy where she's actually going. Meanwhile, in the sitting room, Bald Boy's dad is watching what appears to be a video of his son sitting in the bathtub. Despite her son's protests, Bald Boy's mom pauses at the door, sheds a tear, and walks out into the blizzard. His dad looks a little too happy to be alone with the kids. Everything about these characters is kind of unsettling. Their faces, their voices, the way they move. It's uncanny in the truest sense of the word, but don't worry, it will get worse. Back upstairs, Bald Boy tells Celescus that he's excited for Santa to come tonight, and it turns out that real Celescus is just as unhinged as imaginary Celescus.
So your cat's missing? He's probably dead.
No! Don't say that.
It's -45. He's dead. Are you stupid?
Bald Boy moves to wipe his tears and accidentally reveals what look like bruises or burns on his leg and arms. Celescus asks who hurt him, but when he refuses to tell her, she just goes back to calling him stupid for thinking his cat will come home. You've probably noticed that Bald Boy's room is crawling with roaches, a common sign of neglect. Perhaps more disturbing than the roaches themselves is the fact that they seem to be coming from the father, who, for pretty much this entire scene, has been spying on the kids from the doorway. Product's fever dreams twist together the literal and symbolic, so this might just mean that Bald Boy sees his dad as the source of his skittering roommates, since his neglect gives the roaches the opportunity to move in. Or maybe the roaches really are drawn to the father.
What are you doing? What are you... Your dad seems nice.
The scene transitions to the kitchen, where Bald Boy's grandmother tells him that
Your dad is running you another bath.
Scariest asks if he needs so many because he's
Ugly and bald? Or is it because your cat is dead in the snow somewhere outside?
Out of pocket for that shit.
Throughout the whole interaction, Bald Boy is just straight tweaking, and who can really blame him? Scariest is a total jerk. Something tells me that baths are not a good experience for Bald Boy, and his grandmother might actually be the worst thing I've ever seen. While Scariest is bullying Bald Boy, she gets a cryptic warning from Grandma.
I wouldn't provoke him if I were you. He's just like his dad deep down.
At that, Bald Boy disappears, and to avoid the awkward silence of being left alone with her friend's grandma, Scariest says this.
So, what did you ask Santa for Christmas?
In that sequence of rapid cuts, we see a shelf lined with jars and tapes. Based on the title of the episode, I think we can assume that these jars are full of bathwater. Bald Boy's bathwater. Most concerningly, some of the water is tinted red. Whatever happens in those baths, it isn't good. As for the tapes, well, let's circle back to that once we've finished the video. After that traumatic scene, we get a shot of some roach-covered Christmas presents under the tree. One for Sin and one for Vita, which could be an anagram for David. That'll mean something to you once we get into the next video, Mother. Another shot focuses on a corner of Bald Boy's room. Scribbled stars appear on the wallpaper, hidden behind a piece of furniture. I believe these stars are drawn by Bald Boy, possibly as a way of quietly processing the trauma from his baths. Scariest finally finds Bald Boy curled up on the floor after his bath, but he says that he's
Never felt dirtier.
She says that she doesn't care what his grandmother says. He needs to accept that his cat is dead. While she's saying this, we see this weird, gnarled hand reaching around the corner, along with plenty of roaches. Bald Boy tries to tell Scariest to stop being mean to him, but she continues.
Cat's dead. Your cat's dead. Your cat's dead. Your cat's dead. Your cat's dead in the snow.
Stop!
And you're bald. Stupid boy. What's even your name? I don't even know your name. And your mom's never coming back.
Here's your last chance to do one of two things. You can click off before you see any of the really horrible stuff, or you can use the link in the description to explore Product's catalog unspoiled. Channels like this only pop up once or twice a decade, so if you can handle it, I highly recommend you check it out yourself. For those sticking around, let's continue.
I saw that look in her eyes. I can't comprehend how you can't accept that. It's really obvious that if your cat is missing in this weather, and just because you're stupid and...
Get up! Wake up! I'm sorry! Oh. Oh. Oh.
Suddenly, a pale, half-clothed woman covered in cuts and bruises appears, standing over Scariest's body. She watches Bald Boy silently, and when he asks her for help, she shambles away from the door, down the stairs, and up onto the roof. Unsure what else to do, Bald Boy gives chase. On the rooftop, he pleads with the pale woman, telling her that he wants his mom and he wants his cat. In response, she simply... We see the father standing over his son's severed head in the snow, smiling and nodding. He picks up the head, takes it back inside, drops it into the bathtub, and then the video ends. Product's films are connected but contained, each one being both its own story and a part of something larger. That in mind, I'll be taking a layered approach to my analysis, analyzing the deeper meaning of each film as we go, before exploring the connections between every film at the end of part 2, once we've got all the pieces in front of us. As I'm sure you noticed, Bathwater for Sale is a rough watch, in part because of how graphic it is, and in part because of how cryptic it is. Starting with the obvious. This is a story about abuse. When the mom leaves at the beginning, she cries because she knows what she's leaving her son to, and it's really hard to say whether or not she plans to ever come back. I think she was too afraid to risk confronting her husband, so she decided to leave, even if that meant putting her son at risk. Bald Boy's dad, on the other hand, saw his wife's departure as an opportunity to parent as he saw fit. A majority of his abuse takes place in the bath, hence the bloody bathwater on the shelf and Bald Boy's comment about feeling dirtier afterwards. My theory is that after abusing him, he paints over the bruises and burns to cover up the evidence. I say this because A, we see a paintbrush and paint palette next to the father the first time we see him, but this dude don't strike me as no Picasso. And B, just before Bathwater for Sale was uploaded, Product posted a frame from the video with the caption, "If somebody painted your leg and there was nobody there to hear it, did it happen?" Followed by an emoji of a paint palette. That smacks of gaslighting to me, implying that if the dad paints over the abuse, it never really happened. The tapes and jar we saw on the shelf are all marked with labels like "Don't Talk Back," "Locked Door," or "Because I Think He's Gay." Based on the labels, I think Dad considers his abuse a form of punishment for what he considers unacceptable behavior, though it should also be noted that many of the tapes simply read, "No reason." Hold on, it gets worse. Right before we saw the shelf of jars, we saw the father setting up a camera in front of the bath. The title of the film is a major hint as to what is really going on. Not only is the dad abusing Bald Boy and filming it, but he's also selling off the footage to turn a profit. Worse yet, we saw him casually watching one of these tapes just before the mom left, meaning he just likes to review his work from time to time for the pleasure of it. At the very end, when he's looking down at his son's head in the snow, I can only imagine he's thinking, "My buyers are going to love this." Bald Boy does his best to process his trauma alone, scribbling stars where his father isn't likely to see. But there's only so much you can do without help, and Celescus' bullying is like the opposite of help. When his coping methods failed him, Bald Boy turned violent. He's just like his father, deep down, after all. I think the pale woman is an embodiment of Bald Boy's pain, fear, guilt, and rage. It has bruises like him, it tries to leave him like his mom, and it only appears after he snaps and kills his only friend. Ultimately, it ends up killing him. It's up in the air whether she's real or just a figment of Bald Boy's imagination, but the axe sure seemed real enough. Product says, Bathwater for Sale has everything to do with me selling some of my experiences to the viewers. I believe this film is a sort of self-commentary on the channel. For Product, this channel is their shelf of bathwater, a gallery of abuse, cruelty, and jealousy, uniquely human horrors, darker and more insidious than anything as yet imagined in the minds of men. I guess at that, the question becomes, where does real trauma end and imagination begin? Only Product knows for sure. I'll come back to this film during the full analysis section at the end of part 2, but for now, that's all I've got to say about Bathwater for Sale. On to the next film, the first movie on Product's channel. Mother centers around two characters, a 10-year-old girl named Alice and her mother named Well, actually, Mother is the only thing she's ever called. This film begins on a school day like any other. Mother tries to look loving. She helps Alice to wake up on time, brushes her daughter's hair, and cooks her breakfast. That sounds good on paper, but there are problems in practice. When she wakes Alice, she shouts at her. When she brushes her hair, she pulls it out and blames Alice for getting hurt. When she cooks breakfast, the portions are tiny so Alice can stay skinny and find a husband. Every act of love is underscored by resentment, judgment, and self-righteousness. There are things Mother won't do, however, such as driving Alice to school. So far, it's been an average morning. Alice is afraid of her mother, but nothing's happened to make her really angry. If Alice can just keep things that way until she gets to school, she'll be safe. But when the school bus passes by, leaving Alice behind, all hope of avoiding the worst is lost. Mother watches the bus go by before she turns and towers over Alice. "I'm sorry," Alice manages to squeak out. "You know what this calls for, Alice, and Mother doesn't like to do it," Mother coldly replies. Mother doesn't like to do it. Ugh, that's so gross. Like, she's trying to make Alice feel bad for what she's about to do. Mother seizes a handful of Alice's hair and drags her to the basement door. Alice screams and begs, promising that she'll never miss the bus again, but as far as Mother is concerned, the damage has already been done. "You can spend your time downstairs with the roaches," Mother says before throwing her daughter down the basement steps and slamming the door shut so Alice can reflect on her behavior. Mother goes about her business until, hours later, she decides that she was too harsh and that an apology is in order. She fries up another egg for Alice and returns to the basement door to find...
Alice? Mother was thinking, and I do apologize for being so harsh earlier. I made you another egg, Alice. Alice? Dear?
Alice's corpse. Cold, still, and silent at the bottom of the basement steps, had been claimed by the roaches. In one of the most cryptic shots of the film, Mother begins to scream at the realization of what she's done, and as she screams, several roaches crawl out of her mouth, across her face, and into her hair. Mother drags her daughter upstairs and into the bath. "Mommy's gonna fix it," she chants as she draws a bath for Alice's lifeless body. But there's no fixing something like this.
Mother's gonna fix you. Mother's gonna take care of you, and Mother's gonna fix you. Don't you worry, Alice. You're always gonna be Mother's doll. No one will leave you like your father did me. I will always be here, Alice. It's okay.
This is the first mention we get of Alice's father, and even in this moment, Mother holds a lot of resentment for him. Is that why Mother is so messed up? That's probably putting it too lightly, but you get what I mean. The next morning, Mother wakes up, does her makeup, and cooks breakfast. There's nothing inherently wrong with this. It can be healthy to maintain routine in the face of grief, but Mother is taking things way, way too far.
Now you eat this one before it gets cold again. I know you're a little upset, Alice, because you know that we haven't been on great terms in the air conditioning. But we need to keep your bedroom cold, darling. Cold as can be, so you can always stay fresh. And it doesn't ruin your makeup! Mother loves you. And you know I do.
This isn't routine, it's delusion. Keeping Alice's body, bringing her food, and talking to her like she's still alive, using air conditioning and makeup to avoid inevitable decomposition, they're all signs that Mother is starting to lose it. Worse still, Mother's attempts at abuse and manipulation haven't stopped. She still shouts at the corpse for not eating the food she makes. Weeks go by with Mother dragging fly-eaten Alice around the house, posing her in different rooms and serving her food to reinforce the fantasy that nothing is wrong. Eventually, Mother is forced to leave the house for groceries. All those eggs have to come from somewhere. While at the store, a woman approaches Mother and introduces herself as Heather's mom. She says that her daughter is worried that Alice hasn't been to school in months, and Mother explains that Alice took a tumble down the stairs but is getting better. All the best lies are based in the truth.
Poor thing. And I know that must be really hard on you.
She's getting much better. I'm taking care of her.
How did she end up taking the divorce?
Excuse me? Did you seriously just ask me about my divorce? Why does everyone want to know about Alice's father? No one ever asked about me. How I'm feeling.
I'm sorry for disturbing you. I should really get going.
Surprised at the sudden outburst from Mother, Heather's mom apologizes for disturbing her before leaving. Mother makes one final comment about how Heather must be overweight since her mom buys dairy, which, like, the audacity to criticize this woman for not providing the healthiest options when you killed your daughter. One final detail I want to point out in this scene is that Heather's mom has some pretty rough scratches on her legs, and I can't help but wonder if she's dealing with some domestic issues of her own. Makes me think her question about the divorce might have been a cry for help. Maybe she wants to know how a divorce might affect her own daughter. Back at home, Alice's body is sitting alone on the couch when the phone begins to ring. There's no one there to pick it up, and when the caller is sent to voicemail, we find out that it's actually David, Alice's father. Remember the present I pointed out in Bathwater for sale? Well, this is why I thought Vita might have been an anagram for David, and why the name David was important.
No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
Hey, it's David. I know it's been a few months since you last heard from me, but I think we should do something as a family tonight. Look, I miss Alice. I miss my daughter so much. So, I'm stopping by in 10 minutes.
Something very, very bad is about to happen. Mother returns with the groceries to find Alice watching TV, even though it didn't sound like the TV was on when David called. I'm not sure that's important, but it sure is creepy. What is important is what's being said on TV. It's a breaking news report about a 10-year-old girl who went missing. I'd like to tell you more, but Mother starts speaking over the report, telling Alice to turn off the TV since it rots your brain. You know, I doubt a couple cartoons will do too much. The doorbell rings and Mother answers to find her ex-husband, begging to see Alice and promising that he won't be long. Mother tries to block him from coming inside, but he charges past her and up the stairs to Alice's room. Mother follows, desperate to keep David away from her daughter, but he refuses to leave until he's had his time with Alice. The pair grapples with each other, leading to Mother falling down the stairs, just like Alice. David truly is the hero that this story needed, but when Mother comes to, this happens.
Daddy, I've missed you so much. Alice? The fuck? The fuck? What the fuck did you... Ah!
Now look what you've done. You were never a father to her. You were never a father to her. Never. You were never a father to her. You were never a father to her. You were never a father. You were never a father to her.
Alice's body has decomposed to the point where even the slightest nudge sends her severed head rolling across the floor. Before David can process the horrific sight, Mother's resentment finally gets the better of her, and she adds another corpse to her collection. She retrieves a cigarette from the kitchen to calm her nerves, which will become very meaningful once we finish our last short film, Dirty Donna, in part 2. Mother then returns to the pair of bodies. "Look at this mess. It's all because of you," she says to David. She says that since the family is all together, it's appropriate to have a dinner. A big one, with their nicest table, chairs, and china. Most importantly, it gives Mother the perfect opportunity to wear her special necklace. At least, it was special until she found out David gave an identical one to the woman he cheated on her with.
Remember when we put these chairs in the basement because we didn't want Alice to ruin them? David. And here she is. My little doll. I think she's finally mature enough. You're not the little mess maker you used to be, Alice. David, don't you look at me like that. Please, finish your peas, honey. Oh, please, you're not gonna eat your fucking peas? A moment like this deserves our finest cutlery. And you know what? My good china that glisten like a mirror. And I'm gonna wear my expensive makeup. Oh, David, I'm so in love with you.
Mother has been unstable throughout the entire movie, but now she's truly lost it. She's confessing her love to a man she just killed. She's sewn Alice's head back on, and she's propped both bodies up at the table. It's nothing more than a mockery of a happy family, but it's convincing enough for Mother.
What? What are you looking at?
I thought you quit smoking.
You listen here, little child. Mother's gonna smoke this one, and then guess what? She's gonna chain smoke the rest of the fucking pack all fucking night, okay? I don't mind throwing you back into the basement. You'll understand when you become a mother yourself one day. Now, you see, losing a daughter, that's the most painful thing I've ever felt. But I'm glad I'll never lose you, my sweet, sweet Alice. David is on fire! Oh my God, David, do something! Why the fuck are you just looking at the fire? Oh God, it's on Alice! Hello? Somebody help! My house is burning down, David! Please! Order fire department! Please! Don't stand there, you fucking dumbass! Help me! Please, somebody! I see you fucking looking, doesn't fucking turn your head! Somebody, anybody! Please, my daughter's in there, my family is in there!
Mother's cigarette starts a fire that quickly spreads to David and Alice. Mother runs outside to find help, but when no one comes to her aid, Mother returns for Alice. She drags her daughter onto the front lawn, but it's too late. Now, confronted with melted hair and charred flesh, Mother is finally forced to acknowledge reality.
Why did nobody do anything? My daughter's dead. Daughter's dead. My daughter's dead. Alice!
That's the end of the first short film, a story about an abusive mother who accidentally kills her own daughter, but refuses to accept her guilt. Mother is a textbook narcissist, denying Alice's death until she realizes she can blame it on the fire and maintain her self-image as a loving mother, burdened by an unfaithful husband and a useless daughter. It's an upsettingly believable breed of horror. This happens more often than you'd think. But there's more going on here than you might realize. The next film we're going to look at, Alice, is a direct prequel to Mother, so I can't say a ton, but there is one thing I want to point out. Let's return to what just might be the most overlooked and important shot of this entire movie. When David calls to announce his visit, we briefly see this family picture hanging from the wall before it falls and shatters. Later, when Mother, David, and Alice are having their family dinner, we see a close-up of the photo and... oh. This story is about to get much more complicated, isn't it? Alice takes place several months before the events of Mother, on the day Mother found out about her husband's infidelity. A knock at the door signaled the beginning of the end for Mother's happy family.
Hi, hello, how are you?
I think I may have the wrong house. Does David live here?
And who would like to know?
His girlfriend.
Oh. Why don't you come on in? David will be here shortly. We can wait together.
This is Tiffany, and she's been dating David for over 2 years. As you may have noticed, her necklace is exactly the same as the one Mother wore at the end of the last film, which suggests that Tiffany must be the woman Mother referred to. I thought Mother might have just been paranoid about David's cheating, but her husband really was two-timing, huh? David arrives to find the women chatting, and Mother pulls out the photo album from their wedding. We learn that David and Mother got married in 1994 in Newt, Texas, a fictional town from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's a picture of Mother smoking a cigarette and a note that reads, "I'm so sick of pretending." Pretending not to smoke? In the last film, Alice mentioned she thought Mother had stopped smoking. But no, I think she probably means, "I'm sick of pretending things are okay." Maybe life with David wasn't the happily ever after that Mother expected. Another note reads, "We've been close since '88. I love you like a kid." Finally, in 1995, Mother became pregnant with Alice. Unable to hold back her emotions anymore, a fight ensues and Mother begins to envision David and Tiffany dying in extremely violent ways, but she never tries to hurt them. Alice comes home from school, sees her parents arguing, and retreats to her room in time to see David and Tiffany leaving together. Several hours later, Alice comes downstairs to check on Mother, who's been smoking alone on the couch.
How are you feeling?
Is Dad leaving us?
Oh, no, dear. He's just sleeping at a friend's house tonight, okay?
Oh, like how when I sleep at Heather's house sometimes?
Exactly. Just like that. Like at Heather's house. It's just gonna be me and you for a while, okay? You must be getting hungry, doll. It's getting a little late. What do you say? We go out to eat tonight?
Mother is weirdly normal. She's gentle, loving, motherly even.
I just love late night drives. You was about a year old, and you was still getting settled into your bedroom. Sleeping alone was something that you just didn't like. And so you would cry all night long, throwing temper tantrums, and I would just put you in the car and drive all night long, no matter where I would go. I didn't even have a destination, and it would seem to quiet you down as much as you quiet right now.
I find it hard to believe that this is even the same woman. Was David's betrayal really so transformative as to turn her into the monster we saw in the first film? She seems okay to...
Phoebe!
Alice!
Mom, please, we have to go. This Phoebe, I know it's late,
It's almost
but...
1 a.m. in the goddamn morning, okay? And plus it's wet outside. I mean, exactly who the hell is this Phoebe, and why is her mother allowing her to be outside in the wet and the cold?
Dad would take me.
Okay, 10 minutes.
This is where things get complicated. This is Phoebe, one of Alice's friends, and she should look familiar because Mother killed her in the last film. Alice rushes to play with her friend while Mother, exhausted from enduring the worst day of her life, allows herself another cigarette and a moment of rest on the bench, just long enough for this to happen. The sound of Alice's skull splitting is loud enough to wake Mother. She runs to Alice's side and desperately tries to hold her daughter's blood in while Phoebe tries to explain what happened. But Mother just asks her, "What did you do?" It wasn't Phoebe's fault, but she has no way of proving that. Afraid of what Mother might do to her, the girl runs home and climbs into bed. That night, Mother appears in Phoebe's nightmare, half-clothed and covered in blood. At school the following day, Alice is nowhere to be seen. A weird detail I want to point out here is that on the side of the school bus, it says SISSY. I didn't really think much of that at first, but I also noticed that when we see the attendance sheet for Alice and Phoebe's class, the student names aren't in alphabetical order. Instead, look at the first letters of the first 5 students' names. SISSY. Coincidence? I doubt it. Back at Mother's house, Alice is not doing so good. She's alive, but just barely. You're probably thinking, why doesn't Mother just take her to a hospital? And I have a theory. See, that would require Mother to admit she'd failed Alice. But if she'd failed at being a mom, what else did she have? It would shatter her self-image, and while Mother does care for Alice, we saw in the first film how narcissistic she can be. She was willing to hold on to a corpse, pretending it was alive for months. Also, she could avoid taking responsibility for the death. That's exactly the sort of person I'd expect not to take her child to the hospital if she thought it would make her look bad, especially if she thought it might land Alice back in David's custody. As Mother cultivates greater resentment for David and concern for Alice, she begins to notice that her neighbor is starting to get rather nosy. Petunia, an older woman who lives right next door to Mother and Alice, has always done her best to keep an eye on the neighborhood kids. She tells her husband Barry that she's starting to worry about Alice, but he's been more interested in watching TV than conversing ever since his stroke. The movie he's watching is Belladonna, the earliest video on Product's channel. While I am a channel member and I have watched Belladonna, I won't be covering it here since it doesn't tie in too deeply with the other films. Mother announces herself with a knock at the door, and when Petunia answers, Mother is standing on the other side with a pie.
Oh, Petunia!
Oh,
How are you?
oh goodness, I wasn't expecting any visitors.
Well, I don't really need to tell you how I am because you look at me all day, huh? Are you gonna let me in or what? I baked you one of my cherry pies.
Oh.
I wouldn't want you to put it down. I wouldn't want you to burn yourself.
Petunia says she's busy right now, but Mother says she invited her over by spying. Mother asks Petunia where she keeps her knives, so she can cut the pie. I mean, surely this incredibly stable individual wouldn't use knives for anything else, right? Meanwhile, after school, Phoebe has decided to check in on Alice at home. Finding the front door unlocked, she sneaks to Alice's room and it is swarming with flies. On the bed, Alice is lying completely still, and I think by this point, her head wound had progressed past the point of saving. Alice is well and truly dead, killed by her mother's pride. As soon as she sees this, Phoebe realizes that she isn't safe and she rushes to leave the house. At the same time, next door, Mother's anger, hurt, and paranoia reaches a climax, and she grabs Petunia by the hair.
Oh, Petunia, you're so silly.
This doesn't kill Petunia outright, but it certainly looks painful. Not only that, but is it just me, or does Petunia not bear a striking resemblance to the grandma from Bathwater for sale? The burn is in the same spot, and most of the damage is around the same eye that fell out of Granny's skull. Of course, Petunia is still nowhere near as messed up as Bald Boy's grandma, so what happened? I could be reading into this too much, but who knows? Back in Alice's house, Phoebe barely reaches the front door as it swings open to reveal Mother, her face covered in blood and her eyes severely dilated. "Oh, Phoebe, you're just in time for the sleepover," she says. Phoebe protests, saying that her mom will want her home, but Mother fakes calling Phoebe's mom, says she approves of the sleepover, then refuses to let Phoebe leave. The sleepover is simultaneously one of the darkest and funniest parts of the entire series. Mother turns on this dance video and starts breaking it down. Then it cuts over to Phoebe with the 1,000-yard stare, then bam, whip pan to dead child. You can't make this stuff up. And what the heck is this dance video? Why is there just a flaming purplish pinkish devil woman covered in cuts? Who would make something like this? The party runs long past sundown, with Mother telling spooky stories and serving up lemonade laced with David's sleeping pills. Finally, Phoebe falls asleep, and Mother is left alone with her hurt once again.
Alice. I invite you over to my house. You kill my baby.
In the early morning, Phoebe wakes up in Alice's bed. She attempts to escape through the front door, but finds that Mother has installed a padlock to ensure that Phoebe can't leave. Not only that, but Mother stayed up all night waiting, just in case Phoebe came downstairs. "Alice, is that you?" Mother asks, despite the impossibility of it. By this point, she knew for a fact that Alice was dead, though we never see what she did with the body. Phoebe begs Mother to let her go, but yet again, Mother refuses. After all, there's no safer place for a daughter than by her mother's side. Once the sun is high in the sky, Mother offers Phoebe breakfast. 2 eggs, Alice's favorite.
Here you go, Alice.
Stop calling me that.
You used to be a good girl. I don't know what's gotten into you, Alice. You're changing.
The police are gonna come for you.
If there are going to be any policemen, I'm pretty sure they're going to arrest me for making a killer pie.
As Phoebe pushes back against the delusion, Mother once again sees visions of Tiffany, David, and Phoebe being murdered. However, I'm starting to think that it might go beyond her repressed anger. Moments before her vision, we see a few gnarled fingers creeping up Mother's arm, but why? It reminds me of the fingers we saw back in Bathwater for sale just before Bald Boy killed Celestis. This isn't even the only place it shows up in this film. It's also behind Mother, hiding in the kitchen during the sleepover. You can tell it has a purple tint to it, which almost seems to connect it to the woman from the dancing video Mother played earlier. It's blurry, but I think you can even see the same purple woman standing across the street through the window in this shot. Most concerningly, in Mother's vision, these purple hands can be seen driving knives in Phoebe's head and back. Looking closely, you can see the dancing woman's curled hair behind her, like she's holding Phoebe in place, stabbing her. It's arguably the most violent imagery in the film, but no one ever talks about it. I've dug through hundreds of comments on every product video, and I could only find one other person who saw the hands. It's beyond creepy to me that more people aren't talking about this. It makes me feel like I'm watching a different video than everyone else, like there's something wrong with my copy, if that makes sense. After her vision, Mother retrieves a knife from the kitchen and begins berating her captive before envisioning Phoebe bleeding out on the floor, purple hands grasping at her arm. Mother drives the knife into the table, and a large crack forms on the wall. That was the moment that Phoebe realized there was no fighting Mother. She was too dangerous and too unstable to fight. Months went by. Missing posters for Phoebe went up, and Mother dropped off pie after pie to Petunia and Barry, pies that they could never eat. Phoebe played along with the delusion, pretending to be Alice, trying to be a loving daughter for a mother who was persistently dissatisfied, doing whatever it took to survive. But of course, we already know how this story ends.
Alice, get up. It's time for school. You're gonna be late.
This is why I waited to discuss the first film in detail, since Alice requires you to completely rethink your view on Mother. So, what do we get from the story once we put both films together? Mother's story begins with her having a relatively happy, uneventful life. She got married in 1994, had a daughter in 95, and spent the next 10 years doing what mothers do, making sacrifices for the sake of their families. It wasn't perfect. Her and David fought a lot, but she loved Alice enough to make things work. Alice was a very quiet girl, and we learned very little about her across both films. I think her most important line is when she convinces Mother to let her play in the park with Phoebe, saying, "Dad would let me go." That gives us a little bit more of an insight into her parents' marriage from her perspective. She knew the bitterness that surfaced because of Tiffany had been brewing for a long time, and Alice was willing to use that against her mom to get her way. That manipulation tactic says a lot about Alice as a person, but it says even more about the parents she probably learned it from. It seems to me that despite David's wayward heart, he too loved Alice, but it says a lot that he left with Tiffany that day rather than staying with his family. We know that later on, in Mother, he had a change of heart and decided to come back for Alice. David wasn't perfect, but he tried his best to be there for his daughter. Unfortunately, by then, it was already much too late. Of course, outside the family, this story has one more character of vital importance. The key to understanding Phoebe and Mother's dynamic comes from their first interaction on the playground, where, after Alice falls, Mother asks Phoebe, "What did you do?" When Alice fell, Mother was asleep. She never saw what happened. What if Phoebe could have stopped Alice but didn't? Or even worse, what if Phoebe had pushed her? At the very least, Alice wouldn't have gotten hurt if Phoebe hadn't been at the playground that night. My theory is that Mother never really saw Phoebe as Alice. She never would have treated Alice so harshly. Rather, the way she saw it Phoebe owed her a daughter, and the only way to pay the cost was to play the part of Alice. The abuse that followed was Mother's way of expressing how angry she was, but she never meant to take it so far. The morning Mother killed Phoebe, do you remember why she was being punished? It was because she missed the school bus. Originally, I thought Mother didn't want to take Phoebe to school because it was inconvenient, but now I realize that it would have also inevitably stirred up questions like, why are you bringing another girl to school when your own daughter's been absent for months? At the end of the first film, Mother mentions how much she's longed to be a family again. To us, the family dinner scene is something horrific, a deranged killer speaking to her victims as though they're still alive. But to Mother, the family dinner with David and Phoebe's bodies is an attempt to recreate the life she thought she would have when she and David got married, a life she never really got to live. This was never a story about a mom accidentally killing her daughter. It was about Mother trying to recapture the life she lost all hope of having when Alice died, until the fire forced Mother to accept that she couldn't get her family back. There was no more use pretending. Some people watch Alice and find that they understand Mother's actions a bit more. They recognize that she was hurting and that she really did love Alice when she was alive. Myself, I think she's an absolute monster, and that no matter what she was going through, she did one horrible thing after another, and there's no justifying that. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but it's certainly not as harsh as throwing a child down a flight of steps by her hair. This story is full of victims. Alice, Phoebe, Petunia, but Mother isn't one of them. At least, I don't think she is yet. There's still more to this story. An Easter egg in Product's latest short film, Dirty Donna, gives us some idea of where Mother's story is headed. In it, you can find 3 tapes titled Rimtho _6.02, Ciela ? 9.08, and Vida ! 4.26. Unscrambled, those titles translate to Mother, June 2nd, Alice, September 8th, and David, April 26th. These are the original release dates for Mother and Alice, which leads me to believe we'll see a third part to Mother's story titled David, releasing on the 26th of April, 2025, a little over a week from now. I assume that it will be a prequel to Alice, and naturally, it will focus heavily on David. The latest thing from Product's channel as of writing is a community post featuring what looks to me like the devil lady from the dance video in Alice, only there are 3 of them. I think that we're finally going to get some answers to my biggest questions, which is the main reason this analysis turned into a 2-parter in the first place. So, if you're interested in seeing where the story goes from here, I highly encourage you to subscribe to Product so you can catch the new film as soon as it's posted, and assuming I'm right about the release date, I'll be including the new film in my full analysis of the series in the next video. I guess you can subscribe to me too if you want. Finally, I just want to give a massive thanks to my members and patrons for supporting the channel. I know many of you have been supporting for over a year at this point, and that really means the world. I'd also like to give one final thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. And with that, I'm Curmudgeon. Thanks for watching.